I need to get something off my chest. I am sick and tired of seeing people in the comments section of every one of my reviews of a Chinese car saying how that Chinese car is an absolute copycat of some random foreign car. It's not true. China produces a lot of great original designs, and again, I'm exhausted by this old, lame, and inaccurate narrative. Okay, mostly inaccurate.
Welcome to Wheels Boy, where we cover the newest, coolest, and wildest vehicles from the Chinese car market. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell.
This is a 2022 ORA Ballet Cat. Yes, ORA, the same people that sell the Good Cat or Funky Cat or 03 or whatever they're calling it this week over in Europe. I really enjoyed that car when I drove it back in 2021. This, however, was never sold abroad, and as you can probably gather from the fact that this is a 2022 model year, it's no longer sold in China either. They never officially announced the death of the Ballet Cat, they just simply quietly ceased production around 2023. So why are we talking about an obscure all-electric copycat of a Volkswagen Beetle that ceased production almost 2 years ago? Because I promised we would. Like, subscribe, and most importantly, hit the bell so you can know when we debut our full review of this car, including test drive. That should be coming very soon.
One eternity later.
I am a man of my word. I'm also apparently a man who doesn't change clothes very often, because this is the exact same outfit that I wore in that video. Same shirt, same shoes, which have definitely seen better days, even the same watch. Not the same shorts, however. Those shorts, sadly, did not make it to the year 2025. A moment of silence for my shorts. Anyways, this thing is clearly aping the styling of an original Volkswagen Beetle with tons of retro touches like chrome bumper caps, chrome headlight housings, even chrome side view mirrors, and these amazing door handles, which we will get to again in a moment. We can all agree, however, that it doesn't quite nail the aesthetic. There are a few important reasons for that. For starters, it's got these triangular-shaped headlights instead of the classic round ones of the Beetle, but I think the biggest problem is the fact that it's freaking huge. Forget an original Beetle or even a new Beetle. This thing is the size of a compact SUV, like a Tiguan. As a result, the proportions don't look like an original Beetle so much as they look like an original Beetle that was stung by a swarm of bees. Let's talk about those door handles, however, because again, they're very interesting for a few reasons. Starting with the fact that they're obviously supposed to imitate the retro push-button handles on a vintage car. They are actually, in fact, though, regular pull handles. The button on the driver's door does serve a purpose. If you touch it when you have the key in your pocket, it will unlock or lock the car. The button on every other door, however, is completely useless and purely for aesthetic purposes. That's not the only reason they're interesting, however. Those of you who watched my static review of this car all those years ago may remember that it was specifically aimed at female buyers, and so there's certain touches that are supposed to make it easier for women to use. These door handles are one of them. They're apparently at a height that is lower than the average door handle height on most cars. That should, in theory, make it easier for women who are lower average height to grab onto it and open it. I've got amazing news. 3 years later, the Wheels Boy team includes a real-life woman. So we're going to ask her to come on here and tell us whether this door handle is easier to use than other cars. Mia, if you would do us the privilege of trying the door. This is real science, people. Wow. Apparently it's the exact same as every other door handle. One important note, the owner of this car from whom we rented it placed this protective plastic coating to protect the paint from people opening and closing the doors. It is peeling off. That is not peeling paint. The next stop on Wheels Boy's EV tour is our most beautiful driving route yet, because we are going to China's Sichuan province, including the amazing cities of Chengdu and Chongqing. Yes, there will be pandas, and for those of you with a real sense of adventure, we're offering you the opportunity to extend your journey all the way to Lhasa in Tibet. This event begins in mid-August, so reach out ASAP to tour@wheelsboy.cn to learn more. In our first static review of this car, I sadly had to inform you I did not have specific numbers for the cargo capacity of the Ballet Cat. Now, 3 years on, Well, I still don't have them. I would say it looks big enough to fit, I don't know, a underpowered, overstressed, horizontally opposed four-cylinder engine. Even the Ballet Cat thinks that it's huge. Its tailgate beeps like a semi-truck when you close it. This thing was supposed to have a more masculine counterpart called the Punk Cat, but despite debuting at multiple auto shows, that car never made it to market. Why? Probably because this one sold terribly and ORA decided to cut their losses. Why did it sell terribly, though? First, it was an obvious copycat. In an increasingly mature Chinese car market, fewer and fewer buyers are willing to tolerate that. Second, and I think even more importantly, China doesn't really have any nostalgia for the original Volkswagen Beetle because it was never sold here. How can you develop a nostalgic relationship with something that you never had the chance to experience? I dislike the swollen Volkswagen Beetle look of this car, but I kind of like the interior. It's got a great combination of retro design elements and modern touches. So you've got this pod with two screens, a 10.5-inch digital instrument cluster and a 12.3-inch center screen. But underneath of that and all around it, you've got great retro touches like these cool switches here for your air conditioning controls and tons of chrome pieces throughout. Here in the center console, we have a wireless charging pad surrounded by a protective power crystal. Now, I described this in the first review as unique. How do I put it? Unique. And I certainly stand by that. I would, however, say I think it works. If you have only one weird feature on the interior of a car, well, then it stands out. But if everything is weird, then it's thematic. It's not often that I get to correct something I said in an earlier video, but I finally get to do it today. Here on the steering wheel is a metal half circle on the bottom, and I said in my first review that this operated the horn. Well, guess what? It definitely doesn't do that. The horn is operated like any other car, right on the center cap. This 2022 car is a lower mid-spec one, and it cost about $27,000 or $28,000 US. But in 2023, there was a massive price cut. So the starting price went all the way down to $21,000, but it had better specs than the 2022 models like this. Instead of just heated front seats, it had a heated and cooled driver's seat and a heated front seat. Material qualities are also honestly pretty nice. Not premium by any means, it's a cheap car, but they're nice and soft throughout. And despite having 47,000 kilometers, or about 30,000 miles, and despite what everyone in the comments sections of my videos will tell you, this interior is not falling apart. Speaking of the steering wheel, it's also been designed, allegedly, to be friendlier to female drivers by being slightly smaller than your average wheel. It's time to ask Mia to give it a try. Okay, Mia, what do you think? Wow. 0 for 2. The steering wheel might not be up to snuff, but we have found another feature that is very enjoyable. Selfie mode. Unfortunately, Tiguan-like exterior dimensions have not translated into Tiguan-like headroom. That is, pretty much at a premium. Legroom, however, very nice. Plus, you've got a fold-down center armrest with dual cup holders and dual USB charging ports. If you weren't won over by the styling of the Ballet Cat, I gotta tell you, you're probably not going to be won over by the driving dynamics either. The last time I drove a car with a body control this poor, it also happened to be another ORA, the Lightning Cat. which had the exact same tendency to roll over like a rowboat in rough seas every time you threw it into a corner. Now, this means it's soft, but soft doesn't mean that it's comfortable, because this thing also lets in a ton of vibrations from the road. I'm also afraid the engineers behind this car took the whole vintage thing a step too far, because they've also given it vintage car levels of play in the steering. Combine that with an instantaneous 126 kilowatts and 250 newton meters of electric power going through only the front wheels, and you have a recipe for torque steer. On really rough roads, you can actually feel the wheel moving back and forth in your hands along with the bumps. It is genuinely disconcerting. Suffice it to say, there's nothing about this car's driving experience that encourages you to pilot it with any kind of gusto. You're much better off leaning your seat back a little bit, slowing down, and resting your hand on this metal faux horn lever. And, of course, activating what mode that I teased in the first video, Goddess mode, which for some reason is accompanied by the windshield wipers turning on. Goddess mode, at least according to ORA, is a drive mode specifically designed for female drivers. What it means in practice is that the steering gets even lighter, which I didn't think was possible, and the acceleration becomes even more gentle. I'll let you decide whether this actually qualifies as a special mode for ladies, but it's got it. And honestly, this mode does better suit the car's laid-back personality. So, is the Ballet Cat a vehicle without any redeeming qualities? No, if you look at it from one specific perspective. In the year 2022 and 2023, if you were looking for a car that was a head-turner, something very stylish, something unlike any other car on the road, well, the Ballet Cat, it had no rivals. I've spent a lot of time making fun of the Ballet Cat in this video, and that's because I think it deserves it. But I was dead serious when I said in the introduction that I am tired of people's gut reaction to every single Chinese car being to say that it's a copycat of some other car. It's undeniable that China has plenty of copycats in its past, but I think we have seen and will continue to see fewer and fewer of them in its future. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, like, subscribe, and hit the bell.